Today we're going to replace the screen on a Samsung Galaxy Note 3. This is the Verizon version, so there may be some minor differences between this and the GSM. But for the most part, the replacement that we ordered actually comes with the bezel and a lot of the components on the inside. So this is a relatively easy repair to perform. All we need to do is remove the logic board and a few other components, including the charging port flex from the old one. And what we'll do is start by removing the S Pen, and then you'll have a little tab up here on the back panel that you can just kind of pry underneath, and this will allow you to have access to the battery compartment. From this part, we'll remove the battery. If you have a micro SD card, make sure that you remove that. And I actually used a pick to kind of push this LTE SIM card out. You can usually do it with your finger. This one was stuck in there a little bit, so I just kind of pushed on that a little bit with a sharp point until I got it started. And then on the back, we're going to have 12 screws in the rear panel that need to come out. So I'm going to speed this up here a little bit so you don't have to watch the entire process. And these do tend to stick inside the case, so you might have to kind of pull them out. The main thing is we want to keep track of them. So if you want, if you've backed them all the way out, you can always throw a piece of tape over the top. But I like to just go ahead and pull these out completely, because sometimes when you pry the panel off, they go flying across the room. And fortunately, they are all the same size. They're interchangeable, but we do not want to lose them if we can prevent that from happening. So once you get all of those out of the back here, there's a nice spot on what would be the left-hand side if you're looking at the back of the phone, where you can get underneath. And I found it easiest to pry just right over here, right in about the middle section where the battery is. If you get underneath this a little bit and get it started, don't go in there too deep. You just want to have enough that you can grab onto. And as you pull it, you'll see that it actually starts to separate away from the midframe. And once you get that started, just kind of work your way around very gently. You shouldn't have to pull on this very hard, and eventually the clips will release if you just kind of wiggle it around a bit. And we can take the back panel off. On the inside, we're going to have an antenna wire that runs from the charging port area all the way up to the logic port on the top, and it's actually covered by the logic port itself, so we can't fully remove it just yet, but we will go ahead and disconnect both ends, one down here on the bottom and the other on the top. And you'll see that it kind of fits underneath the board, so that's going to stay there for the moment. And then we will proceed to remove several other flex cables. We have two here at the top left-hand corner. There are also going to be two down on the left-hand side, closer to the center of the phone, of the tablet, where it one kind of oh, and of course we have our AMOLED there on the right-hand side. There's also going to be one for the headset jack that I'll come back to in a moment. But these two on the left-hand bottom area, and by the way, don't worry about that screw. If you needed to remove the headset jack, of course, that is the screw that you'll have to remove. So this one is going to open down, and the one above it kind of opens and rolls out to the left-hand side. And then we're going to have one more up here at the top right area, just above the SIM card tray, that needs to be released. And after you've disconnected all of your flex cables, you should be able to easily remove the logic board, and we will set that aside for the moment. And as you can see, we've got the headset jacked, we've got the speaker, earpiece. A lot of this stuff's already in the replacement, which makes it very easy to work with. I'm going to go ahead and move the antenna wire over immediately, and you can see with that crease, it's very easy to tell exactly where it goes. And from here, what we're going to want to do is apply some heat to the area where the charging port is located. This is another PCB type board that's got adhesive underneath the bottom of it. So you want to be very gentle, be really careful working under here. There is a certain amount of flexibility to this board, and you will see when I remove it that I had to kind of straighten it out because it gets bent. But just be really careful, make sure you're not prying under any components, and take your time. When I put this thing upright again, you'll see that on the right hand side there's actually another tiny little piece that kind of wraps up along the edge here. So we want to make sure that we get underneath all of this. And I tried going under there with the pick, and I didn't quite have enough room with this particular one. So whatever works best for you. I was able to get under it with the pry tool here. The main thing being that you don't want to crack it or do any damage, but we want to very carefully make sure that we release this entire piece all at once. And again, as you can see, it's very thin, so it does bend a little bit, but fortunately we have some flexibility, so we'll be able to straighten that out in a moment. And if you have to apply some more heat, that certainly never hurts, as long as you don't overdo it. And if you get under there far enough, you can finally kind of peel this off, and you'll see that the adhesive stayed inside of the casing. So here I'm just straightening this out a bit, and then we'll go in, and I'm going to go ahead and reuse this adhesive. You can usually get a couple of uses out of them. If yours isn't sticky enough, you can always custom cut a piece of 3M or something else. But I'm just going to go ahead and transfer the old stuff over to the new housing. And from here you can actually go ahead and put the charging port in. Make sure you don't bury that antenna wire. That's got to be on top. And then of course we have these other flex cables on the left hand side. So I'll go ahead and plug the antenna wire at the bottom half in at this point. And you see there's a little piece of plastic we're going to peel off. And I'll go ahead and check the power button and the volume buttons. Actually, the volume buttons are going to be located on the board itself, so those aren't going to be functional yet. But you do want to make sure that your power button is springing back when you click on it. And then we can go ahead and pull all these cables out of the way and get the logic board situated into the new housing. And interesting, and be careful of this antenna wire. It's kind of funny the way it's situated in here, but it actually goes underneath the logic board. And then we will need to plug in all these flex cables. Interestingly, there is no screw that goes in the logic board from this point. You don't put anything through it until the rear panel is on. So they have changed that. It was something that they started doing in the S3, I believe it was, or it could have been some of the S2 models, but on this particular Note, they do not. And off the top of my head, I want to say they had one in the Note 2. But it has been a while since I've opened one of those up. So go ahead and plug these in. And what we will do is go ahead and set the panel on the back here just long enough to get the battery installed so that we can make sure that the screen is functional. Since I don't have a test cable for the screen, I had to go ahead and put the logic board inside the phone. But as you can see, it didn't take too long. We're about 7 minutes into the process at this point. And before I throw the battery in there, I got pretty confident here. I'm sure this is going to work. So I'm going to heat up the barcode label, go ahead and remove that and transfer it over to the new housing. Always a good idea to keep track of this and keep it with the phone when you perform the repair or replace anything that it happens to be stuck to. So now we keep our fingers crossed, hit the power button, and if this thing fires up, we should be ready to go. And you can see we have our Galaxy Note 3 there displayed on the screen. And the next step, of course, is putting all the screws and the S Pen back inside. Put the back panel on, and you should be all ready to go. And that is how we replace the screen on the Galaxy Note 3. If you found the video helpful, hit the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Twitter or Facebook. Post your questions in the comment section below or visit gocellphonerepair.com/forum. Thanks for watching.